Hi, welcome back, jewelry makers. My name is Kelly Dominguez with the Siren and the Pirate handmade jewelry. And I took a poll on my Instagram and it was decided that you guys would like to see a tutorial on my duality ring. So that's what we're gonna do today. I've got a couple on that I've practiced making. This one is with copper and it has not been patinaed yet. This one has been patinaed. If you'd like a tutorial on how to patina copper jewelry, I will put that in the description below. I have a separate tutorial for that. So I'll give you a little closer look here. So we can see the weave that we'll be doing is done with 3 base wires and 28 gauge wire. I don't know what the weave is called, but it's like a 2-2 weave with 3 wires. So basically 2 wires over the bottom 2 wires and 2 wires over the top 2. So I will walk you through the weave and then how to make it into this ring pattern. And the beads I'm using are Czech glass beads. And down here in the Turks and Caicos Islands where I live and work and have a boutique, everyone wants something blue, like the beautiful blue ocean that they get to experience while they're down here. So this color is really popular for me, but you can use any color you want. This is a size, I want to say it's either a 6 or 4 millimeter. I'm not sure which one it is. 8 millimeter would probably be too big, but I think you can get by with using either 4 or 6 or even something smaller. You just might have to modify some of the design a bit. So let's go ahead and get started on the weave. So the wire that you will need for this project is 20 gauge copper wire or whatever metal you choose. I buy this off of Amazon, I guess through Copper Wire USA. And you will also need 28 gauge wire. And I know I buy this off of Amazon as well. I'm not sure if it's sourced from the same company or not. You will need 3 pieces of 20 gauge wire, each 12 inches in length or 30 centimeters. And the 28 gauge wire, I typically just work right off of the spool. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, I'm gonna start with the middle wire just to get my weaving wire attached to the base wire. And I'm gonna roughly start about 4 inches in from the left of the wire. Grab your weaving wire with the tail and place it on the back side of the wire and hold it with your index finger and your thumb so it's nice and secure. Using your right hand, let's go around once and twice. Actually, this is going to end up being the bottom wire. Okay, so now we've got 2 loops around the bottom wire, we're secure. I'll go ahead and place my middle wire on top of that one. And now I'll go around both of the wires once, twice. Keep these separated. Place your other wire now, your 3rd wire, on top of all the others. And now take your weave. We're going to call this wire 1, wire 2, wire 3. You're going to go between wires 1 and 2 and go over the top of wire 3. And do that same thing again. Go between wires 1 and 2 and over the top of 3. So I've got my first coils that just get it started. I've got 2 coils over wires 1 and 2 and 2 coils over wires 2 and 3. And that's going to be my pattern. So now I'm going to go back down to the bottom and go around wires 1 and 2. Do that same thing again. now to go over the top 2 wires. Take your weave between wires 1 and 2 to reverse directions, and now we go up over wire 3, between wires 1 and 2, and back over. And then just squish these together so you're getting a nice tight weave. Let's do just one more round of this. So lift up and go between wires 2 and 3. Do that one more time. And then go around or in between wires 1 and 2, over the top of 3, one more time. And then restart. So that's going to be our weave. I'm going to continue on with this weave for approximately 1.5 to 2 inches. Now this is the part, because we're making a ring, it'll depend on the size of ring you need. I'm gonna try to go for like a 7 ring, a size 7. So I'll probably need I'm just gonna go with 2 inches of weave today. So I'll do that and bring you right back. All right, so I finished the weave. I think I'm right about maybe just a tiny bit over 2 inches. And I'll go ahead and trim off my weaving wire. So use your cutters and use the flush side. Just snip off the tail on both ends. And then use a pair of pliers just to push down anything that might be sticking up. Okay, so the next part, you're going to need a ring mandrel. And I gotta say, I bought one of these off of Amazon. I just opted for a really cheap plastic one, which serves its purpose, because I was actually using a pool stick before I got a ring mandrel. But I can say that I would really love next to invest in a nice heavy metal ring mandrel for a number of reasons. One being that I'm gonna have to hold this between my knees because it's so lightweight, I can't lay it down and work with it. So I'm gonna just switch camera angles and we'll start wrapping this ring. Okay, hey. All right, I hope this works for you. This is about as good as it gets for this part. I'm looking at going for a size 7. I'm gonna have to start either at 8 or 8.5, because I find with this design, it's gonna shrink probably a good size to a size 1.5. So I will take my weave and place it on that 8.5 ring size mark and just bend it around. And then I flip it around so that I can see. So about at that 8.5 mark, my weaving wire is pretty close to touching. So whatever size you're making, you do not need your weave to be right next to each other when you wrap it around. It can be spaced out a little bit because you're gonna have a lot of wire wrapping on top of it that's gonna hide it. So in this case, it comes pretty close together. All right, now I'm gonna separate 2 wires up and 2 wires down, and I'm just gonna work with these 2 wires. I hope that makes sense. These 2 wires are gonna be what holds it together. I'm gonna pull, and then I'm going to twist them around each other, making a little spiral as I go. So you can see I've got that started. Keep spiraling. Until you've got the spiral, the middle spiral, the size that you want it. Actually, that's a little bit big. I'm gonna unwind mine a little. Okay, so once you have your middle spiral, we don't need this ring mandrel pretty much anymore, so I'm gonna flip the camera back so it's easier to see. All right, much better. Now I'm going to take what's remaining of the spiral wires, and I'm going to wrap them around the weaving wire, the sides of the ring. Use your pliers just to pull it around tight. You could do one. I typically do two. Times around. And then just let that wire be for now. Do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now with these two wires, I make a little swirly decoration on the side. It's going to be this little swirl right here. So I'll eyeball it where I want to trim it. Try to get it the same on the other side. And then I use my round nose pliers to go in, grab the tip of that wire, and just start to bring it in into a spiral. It ended up kind of being big, but that's all right. I just go with it most of the time. A little bit bigger than normal. It's okay. And then same thing on the other side. Now you can squish it down. All right. So that's starting to come together. Actually, this would be just a cool design in itself, and you could do a number of things with these next two wires to make it look different. But we'll go ahead and continue on with this particular design. So with the top two wires and the bottom two wires, bring it straight across the back side of your spiral. And then we'll start with the top wire and we'll make a counterclockwise loop. And I've done these a couple times now, so I kind of know the size of the loop that I want, but you can always test it. So whatever bead you're choosing to use, just kind of see if it's going to fit the way you want it. That looks good for me. And then with the remaining wire, stabilize the loop you just made, and you're going to make another counterclockwise loop, this time just above the middle of the main spiral. And we'll do the same thing on the other side before we finish the ends off. Same thing when you flip it over, another counterclockwise loop. And you know, sometimes I'm not very happy with it. You have those days where it's like it just didn't quite do what you wanted to. So I'll go in and kind of mess with the shape, but I say good enough. Same thing here. Another counterclockwise loop. And these typically, I like my loops in the middle not to overlap, but it's also kind of cool. So we'll go with it, or you could go in like I'm gonna do. And just adjust things. Cool. All right, and now we'll take the remaining wire, and just like we did with the other wires, wrap it around the sides of the ring. So we'll go around once. To the back side again. And then when I trim these, so I don't really want them seen from the front, but I hate trimming wires on the insides, especially with rings, because I don't want to get scratched by anything. So with this design, I've been going up to the very top, right where those wires peek over the weaving wire, and trimming them there. And then I'll go in with my little needle nose, flat nose pliers, and just find some way to hide them or tuck them in somewhere. Sometimes I'll even put like just little hooks on the edge of them, so at least that way I don't really see them from the front, and you can always test it out and make sure that it's not catching on your skin. And we'll go over here and do the same thing. All right, so we have now kind of the basic shape of the ring. All we have to do is go in and add our beads. And this is the point too. Sometimes I go ahead and patina it right now, because when I need to go in and polish the patina off, I don't want to scratch my beads. So I either have to go in gently with a polishing cloth and carefully polish this part so I don't scratch the bead, or just add that in after you patina. So we're going to use our beads, and I use 24 gauge wire on this next part. All right, so I typically just go in and cut a piece of, I don't know, like 4 or 5 inches of the 24 gauge wire. Gonna need 2 of them. And grab your bead. And then we'll go to the back side and hold the bead in place. And then start sewing 24 gauge wire through, and I typically go around 3 or 4 times. really quite challenging to do this on camera, but I'm getting better. Right? Right. That's what I tell myself. Okay, so I've got them secured in there, and then I'll just go in and trim off what I don't need. Push down anything that's sticking out. Hello. All right, so that's how you get the bead in. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. All right, so I've just finished putting in both of the beads. I go through and run my finger over everything, make sure there's nothing to catch on. And then with the beads, because they are gonna stick down quite a ways, I like to go in and kind of push them. Now you could change the design of this a little bit. I don't mind having those two beads kind of sitting on my finger like that, but if you wanted to, you could try to get them up in between the wires a little bit more, or you could use a different shape of bead, like more of a flat bead, and then you wouldn't have those beads if you don't like the pressure they cause on the finger. So let's check and see what size we ended up with. We started with about 8.5, and yep, it's gonna come right about at 7, which should fit my ring finger if it is. Yeah, it feels a little loose, but pretty close. And a lot of times with these rings like this, it can be a guessing game. So, all right, job well done. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. And if you're out there and you're watching and you'd like to see something else, just let me know. I'd love to know who's out there watching and what you guys would like to see. I'm still getting used to doing these tutorials, but I'd really love to continue doing them. So let me hear from you by liking this video and subscribing to my channel, leaving questions and comments down below. Again, I'm going to put a link for how to patina the copper jewelry if you like the look of this one, or of course you can leave it shiny copper. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.